There comes a moment, somewhere between night and morning, when the world holds its breath. The noise fades, and the silence begins to hum with something deeper, a quiet presence, an invisible heartbeat that has always been there. It is in that silence you hear it, a voice that is not quite yours, but feels like it has been speaking to you all along. It asks softly, "Do you remember why you came here?" You open your eyes, not to the world outside, but to the one within. And you realize, life has never been about the surface of things. It has always been about what moves beneath. Carl Jung once wrote that your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. This is where your awakening begins, inward, not outward. The world will tell you that life is about becoming something, someone, somewhere, somehow better. But the soul whispers differently. It tells you that life is not about becoming. It is about remembering. You were born whole. You were born knowing. You simply forgot, and so the journey begins not forward, but inward. Not toward the stars, but toward the spark inside you that mirrors them. You see, life is not a straight line, it's a spiral. Every time you think you've reached the end, you find yourself circling back to lessons you thought you'd learned, to emotions you thought you'd healed. Each time you return, you see more clearly. The spiral doesn't trap you, it deepens you. It brings you closer to your center, yourself. You have spent so long chasing light that you've forgotten. The light is not found outside. It glows behind your ribs, in the spaces where pain once lived. Jung called this process individuation, the becoming of who you truly are, the merging of what you show the world and what you hide from it. The integration of your shadow and your soul. You have worn many masks, haven't you? You've tried to be perfect, kind, strong, intelligent, anything that would keep you safe, anything that would make you feel loved, and yet, beneath all those layers, there has always been a small, still truth whispering, "I am not what I pretend to be." Life, in its quiet wisdom, has a way of dismantling every false image you build. It takes away what you cling to, not to punish you, but to return you to what is real. Because life, as Jung saw it, is the great process of remembering yourself through the loss of everything you are not. The pain you've carried was never random. The loneliness, the heartbreak, the confusion, they were doorways, initiations, each one designed not to break you, but to open you. To open your heart, your empathy, your awareness, your soul. You were never meant to be untouched by suffering. You were meant to be transformed by it. Because only through darkness do you learn to see light, not as something outside, but as something born within. And so, your life, this mysterious collection of choices, accidents, and coincidences, is not a straight path at all. It is a sacred conversation between your soul and the universe. Everything that has happened to you has been part of that dialogue. Every loss was a message, every joy an answer. And somewhere in between them, you've begun to see that nothing is random. Your life has been teaching you not to control, but to trust, not to seek perfection, but presence, not to chase meaning, but to live it quietly, moment by moment. Because the truth is, life cannot be understood by the mind, it can only be felt by the soul. The intellect tries to explain it, but the heart experiences it. And when the mind finally bows to the heart, understanding begins. So as you listen now, breathe, slowly, deeply, let go of what you think life should be, let go of the stories, the plans, the noise. You are not behind, you are not lost, you are exactly where your soul needs you to be, on the edge of awakening, ready to remember what life truly is. There is a moment in every human story when the path you walk begins to dissolve beneath your feet. The map you were given no longer fits the landscape of your heart, and though fear whispers that you are lost, something deeper inside you smiles, because your soul knows this is where the real journey begins. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Those words are the heartbeat of your evolution. They are the invitation life has been offering you, quietly, in every heartbreak, every ending, every strange coincidence that made you pause. You are not being punished by what falls apart, you are being unfolded? Every ending, every silence, every shattered plan has been guiding you towards something larger, toward yourself. The self that exists beyond the roles you play, beyond the stories you were told, beyond even your name. It's strange, isn't it? You spend the first half of your life trying to build an identity, trying to be someone. And then one day, life begins to unbuild it all. The job you thought defined you disappears. The relationships you built your world around change or fade. The beliefs you held like anchors begin to dissolve. At first, it feels like dying. But what is dying is only the illusion. What is awakening is truth. This dismantling is sacred. It is how life strips away what is not you, so that what is you can finally breathe. The mind calls it loss, the soul calls it becoming. And in this becoming, you learn the great paradox that the self you spent years constructing was only the cocoon, and what you are becoming is the butterfly that always lived inside it. The butterfly does not fight the cocoon, it simply grows beyond it, and so do you. But growth rarely feels graceful. It feels like confusion, like doubt, like standing in the dark not knowing which way to turn. That darkness is not a mistake, it is an initiation. Jung called it the night sea journey, the descent into the depths of your own unconscious. It is where you meet everything you've hidden, your fears, your desires, your forgotten dreams. Most people spend their lives avoiding that descent, numbing the silence with distraction. But you are different. You felt the call. You have heard the whisper, felt the pull, and now you stand at the threshold. This journey inward is the most profound adventure you will ever take. It is the path to wholeness, to peace, and to a love that does not depend on anything outside of you. If you're on this path of looking inward, know that you are not alone. Have you ever felt that running away from your problems just isn't working anymore? That deep down, the healing you're searching for won't come from escape, but from presence. So, you decide to descend. You close your eyes and turn your focus inward. Instead of denying your sadness, you meet it face to face. You finally let your loneliness have a voice. You sit with your shadow, that part of you that feels hidden, until you begin to understand it's not your enemy, it's your guardian. It holds every piece of you that once felt unworthy of love. And as you face it, you realize that what you feared most was never the darkness itself, but its depth. And it's in that depth that light is born. Because when you finally stop running, when you turn inward and say, I am ready to see, the unconscious mind begins to reveal its treasures. Your dreams start speaking in strange, beautiful symbols. Synchronicities start appearing everywhere, repeating numbers. Songs on the radio, words you hear in passing moments that feel like whispers from something higher. And deep within you, a quiet trust begins to grow. You start to see that nothing in your life was wasted, not the pain, not the confusion, not even the times you thought you had failed. Every single experience was sculpting you, making you more aware. Every heartbreak was actually opening a new door in your soul. Every moment of silence was teaching you how to truly listen. And slowly, you begin to walk differently. Not faster, not with more certainty, but with a profound sense of peace. You start living not from fear, but from a state of flow. You understand now that the mind always seeks control, but the soul simply seeks experience. And life, in its infinite wisdom, will give you not what you want, but what you need to remember who you truly are. You are not here to be perfect, you are here to be whole. And wholeness is born from integration, bringing together the light and the shadow, the joy and the sorrow, the laughter and the tears. This is what the psychologist Carl Jung called the sacred marriage within the union of all your opposites. Masculine and feminine, logic and intuition, mind and heart, doing and being. When these opposites stop fighting inside you, you stop fighting the world outside. You begin to live from your center, calm, aware, and truly awake. And this, quietly, is how life explains itself to you, not through complicated philosophy or rigid doctrines, but through direct experience, through the beautiful, messy, and sacred unfolding of your own heart. There comes a time in this journey when you begin to see that every person who has touched your life, every friend, every lover, every stranger who made you feel something was never just a coincidence. They were mirrors, living symbols, carrying fragments of your own reflection. Each one was sent to show you something about yourself that you couldn't yet see. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The people who awaken your deepest emotions, the ones who trigger you, the ones who inspire you, the ones who make you feel alive or small or truly seen are all your teachers. Some teach through love, some through loss, some through silence. But each one is participating in the sacred conversation between your soul and the universe." You might think you fall in love with other people, but the truth is, you fall in love with the parts of yourself that you see reflected in them. And when they leave, you don't actually lose them. You lose the mirror that was showing you that beautiful version of yourself. That's why heartbreak hurts so deeply. It's not just the loss of another person, it's the temporary loss of a reflection. It forces you to find that reflection within yourself. Life uses relationships as the most profound form of shadow work. It shows you the light and the darkness you carry inside through the people you attract and the emotions they stir up in you. When you feel a deep attraction to someone, you're seeing a quality your soul recognizes, a resonance of energy that feels like coming home. And when you feel resentment or judgment towards someone, you're seeing a piece of yourself that hasn't yet been loved into wholeness. You might think, "I could never be like that," but that's the illusion. The truth is, you're everything you admire and everything you condemn. The entire spectrum of humanity lives within you, and the more you learn to see yourself and others, to understand their pain as a reflection of your own, to forgive them not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace, the freer you become. Relationships are the soul's alchemy. They burn away your illusions of separation. They magically turn the lead of your fear into the gold of understanding. There are certain souls you meet who change you instantly, as if their presence awakens something ancient within you. They might stay for years, or just for a fleeting moment, but their impact is eternal. These are what Jung would call numinous encounters, moments when another person becomes a vessel for the divine, and through them, you catch a glimpse of your own infinity. You might call it love at first sight, but it's rarely about romance. It is remembrance, a remembering of something your soul has always known. And when these powerful souls leave, as they often must, their departure becomes another crucial lesson. Because true love is not about possession, it is about presence. To love someone without needing to hold on, to care for them without needing to control them, this is the mark of spiritual maturity. You begin to understand that every connection has a sacred purpose. Some come to awaken you, some come to challenge you, some come to teach you how to let go. And the more awake you become, the more gently you hold others. You stop demanding that they fill your emptiness. You stop needing them to be perfect. You start seeing them as they truly are, souls on their own mysterious journeys, learning, stumbling, and seeking, just like you. And one day, you realize something miraculous. The relationships that used to trigger your deepest pain now open your heart. Because you finally see that behind every hurt was an invitation to heal. You no longer take things so personally. You no longer cling to what ends. You begin to trust that whatever leaves your life has completed its purpose. And whatever remains not out of need, but out of pure resonance. This is the quiet wisdom of awakened love, a love that doesn't bind, but liberates. A love that sees the divine in another and recognizes it as the same light that lives inside of you. In the end, every person you have ever loved was a reflection of your own becoming. They were you, in another form, helping you find your way back to yourself. Thank you so much for watching and for sharing this space with me today. If this message resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. It truly helps more than you know. There is a silence that follows every storm, a stillness that settles once the thunder fades. And in that silence, If you listen closely, you can hear your own truth begin to breathe again. You have known darkness, the kind that feels endless, the kind that makes you question if light will ever return. But perhaps you have never realized that the light you were searching for was never lost. It was only waiting beneath the weight of all that you had not yet faced. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the work few are willing to do, to turn toward what hurts, to sit with the shadows rather than escape them, to look honestly at the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide. You are told to be good, to be kind, to be strong, to smile. But nobody told you that it's okay to rage, to grieve, to tremble, to fall apart." And so, for years, you buried those feelings deep inside, believing they were signs of weakness, when in truth they were the roots of your strength. The shadow is not evil. It is everything within you that longs to be seen. It is the truth behind your anger, the story beneath your jealousy, the pain behind your silence. The shadow holds your creativity, your authenticity, your forgotten fire. It is not your enemy, it is your exiled self. To face the shadow is not to fight it, but to listen to it. To ask gently, "What have you been trying to tell me all this time?" At first, it may speak in pain, in fear, in old memories that ache to the touch. But, as you sit with it, as you hold it with compassion rather than judgment, you will feel something begin to soften. The shadow transforms not through rejection, but through love. When you love the parts of yourself you once feared, you reclaim your power. You stop living in fragments, you become whole. And wholeness, Jung said, is not perfection. It is the acceptance of all, that you are the saint and the sinner, the child and the warrior, the light and the dark. It takes courage to stand in that balance. The world loves extremes, light or dark, right or wrong, good or bad. But the soul knows that truth lives in the middle, where opposites meet and merge. You are not meant to be only light. You are meant to be complete, and completion requires contrast. Without sorrow, joy has no meaning. Without shadow, light cannot exist. Without endings, beginnings cannot bloom. This is the hidden balance of life, the quiet harmony between destruction and creation, between losing and finding, between falling and rising again. You were never meant to escape the darkness, you were meant to integrate it, to carry it with grace, to turn it into wisdom, to walk as both the wound and the healer. That is why your suffering was never meaningless. It carved space in you, space for empathy, for understanding, for compassion that does not judge, because only those who have walked through their own darkness can hold the light for others without fear. And that, perhaps, is the true mark of an awakened soul. When you stop hiding your pain, you stop fearing the pain of others. You become a mirror of safety in a frightened world. You become a quiet reminder that even the broken can be beautiful, even the wounded can be wise. And in that stillness, that deep, holy acceptance of all that you are, life begins to feel whole again. Because you have stopped dividing it into good and bad, light and dark. You see now that both serve the same purpose, to lead you home. There is a certain beauty that only reveals itself when the noise fades. When the world finally grows quiet, and you are left alone, not lonely, but whole. At first, solitude feels like emptiness. It feels like standing in a vast, unfamiliar space where all the voices that once guided you have vanished. But, if you breathe, if you wait, something begins to happen. The silence begins to speak. It speaks in the rhythm of your breath, in the slow beating of your heart, in the way light moves through the room when no one else is watching. Carl Jung once said that loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate what matters most. And so, in solitude, you begin to relearn that communication not with the world, but with your soul. For so long, you have listened to everything outside you, to opinions, to expectations, to noise. But here, in the quiet, you begin to listen inwardly again. You start hearing the voice that was always whispering beneath the chaos, the one that says, "This is who you are. This is what you've always known." At first, the silence may feel heavy. You may notice your thoughts echo louder, your fears rising like ghosts in an empty room. But stay, do not run from the silence. Sit with it, let it unfold you, because within that silence lies the deepest medicine of all self-understanding. You begin to see that peace is not something you find when life gets easier. It is something you create by learning to rest in the present moment, as it is. You begin to understand that solitude is not a punishment. It is a sanctuary, a temple, where your truest self waits patiently to be remembered. You remember the feel of your own energy, the softness that has nothing to prove, the clarity that does not shout, the inner calm that no longer needs validation. In these quiet, solitary hours, the world's illusions start to melt away. You begin to see how much of your own suffering came from a deep-seated need to be understood, often by people who couldn't even understand themselves. And so, you stop chasing that sense of belonging outside. Instead, you start to cultivate it right here, within you. You realize that you don't need constant company to feel connected, and you certainly don't need endless noise to feel alive. All you really need is presence, that pure, simple awareness of being right here, right now. Breathing, sensing, just existing. No labels, no roles, no masks. In that quiet space, you find a peace that no one can ever take from you. It is the kind of peace Carl Jung called the center of the self, a still point in your soul that remains untouched by chaos, untouched by fear. It's the place where the opposites within you, the shadow and the light, the past and the future, all dissolve into one quiet truth: you are whole. You have always been whole. Now, your mind will try to complicate this. It will question it, analyze it, try to define it, but your heart knows better. Your heart understands that peace isn't a thought you can grasp. It's a return. It's a remembering of the person you've always been, beneath all the layers of thought. As you sit in that silence, you start noticing the small miracles all around you. You notice how the air feels alive, how every sound seems to have its own stillness tucked inside it, how the world seems to breathe right along with you. And you understand, maybe for the very first time, that solitude isn't about separation. It's actually unity in disguise, because when you are truly alone, you realize you are never, ever truly alone. There's something vast moving through you, the very same consciousness that flows through the trees, the oceans, and the stars. You are a part of it, and it is a part of you. In solitude, you remember that profound connection. Not through words, but through the deep, quiet, not by doing, but simply by being. And once you've tasted that peace, that real, wordless peace that comes from pure presence, you stop looking for it elsewhere. You stop begging the world to just calm down so you can finally feel okay. Instead, you begin to bring that calm with you, wherever you go. That is the quiet power of those who are at home in their solitude. They no longer need the world to make sense for them. They simply rest inside their own stillness, and then the world begins to soften around them, because the energy of peace is contagious. When you embody it, you gently remind others that peace was never out there, it has always been within. There is a certain kind of soul that feels everything. The unspoken words, the hidden emotions, the quiet tremors beneath someone else's smile. If this sounds like you, then you've probably often felt like your heart is both a blessing and a burden. You can sense what others can't bring themselves to say. You find yourself carrying emotions that aren't even yours. You've walked into a room and felt its emotional weight before a single word was even spoken. Carl Jung wrote about these rare souls who live on the edge of consciousness, those whose empathy is in a weakness, but a profound spiritual sensitivity. You, dear one, are one of these souls. You feel so deeply because you were made to. You sense the invisible threads that connect every living being. And that awareness, though it can feel heavy at times, is your greatest gift. But the world hasn't always been kind to your sensitivity, has it? It probably told you to toughen up, to stop caring so much, to just let things go. So, for years, you tried to numb it. You built walls around your heart to keep from feeling too much. Yet, every time you closed your heart off, a quiet ache grew inside you. That's because your heart was never meant to be armored. It was meant to be wide open. Empathy is the language of the soul. It's how life communicates from one heart to another. Through it, you feel not only the pain of others, but also their beauty, their longing, their hidden light. And when you consciously awaken to this sensitivity, something incredible begins to happen. You stop drowning in what you feel. You start to channel it. You realize that empathy isn't about absorbing energy, it's about transmuting it. When you feel someone else's pain, you no longer see it as a weight you have to carry. You see it as an energy you can help transform through your presence, through love, through stillness. You become like water, soft, but strong enough to shape mountains. This is the evolution of the empath. You move from emotional chaos to emotional clarity, from reacting to resonating, from being overwhelmed by the world to becoming a source of healing within it. And healing doesn't always mean fixing others. Sometimes, it simply means being with them in their suffering, without feeling the need to rescue them or change them. You start to see that every emotion, even sorrow, has its own sacred purpose. You stop labeling feelings as good or bad. You simply allow them to be, watching them pass through you like waves, knowing they don't define who you are. Your sensitivity, which was once so painful, transforms into wisdom. You begin to sense when to speak and when to remain silent, when to give and when to retreat, when to connect and when to recharge. You learn the sacred art of setting boundaries, not walls built from fear, but circles of love that protect your peace, because your peace is your power. It is the natural state of the awakened empath, the one who has learned that you cannot heal the world by carrying its pain, but by becoming a light within it. Jung often talked about individuation, the process of becoming your whole, unique self. For an empath, this journey is about reclaiming your energy from all the places you've scattered it. Think about it. Every time you said yes when your heart was whispering no, every time you dimmed your light to make someone else more comfortable, you left a piece of your energy behind. Now, through awareness, you are calling all those pieces back home. You no longer confuse love with self-sacrifice. You realize that true compassion must include yourself. You can't pour from an empty heart, and you can't save others from the lessons that are meant to awaken them. So, you soften, you allow others to walk their own path. You shift your focus from trying to fix the world to keeping your own inner world clear, kind, and awake. Because when your soul is aligned, your very presence becomes a form of medicine. People start to feel lighter around you, not because you're actively healing them, but because you remind them of what peace feels like. This is your quiet power to hold light without needing to prove it, to walk in empathy without being consumed by it, to love without losing yourself in the process. And so, you begin to move through life differently now. Not as someone fragile, but as someone profoundly attuned. You're no longer afraid to feel deeply, because you have learned that feeling isn't a weakness, it's your connection to everything sacred. You are not broken for caring so much, you are awake. And awakening is rarely a gentle process, but it is always, always worth it. There comes a quiet moment when you stop searching. Not because you've given up, but because you finally see there was never anything missing. You've walked through the valleys of your own mind. You've faced the shadows that once frightened you. You have lost, and loved, and fallen, and risen again and again. And now, you begin to understand. Life was never asking you to figure it all out. It was simply asking you to feel it, to live it, to experience its beauty and its sorrow, its chaos and its calm, without running away from any of it. You see now that everything, every single joy, every heartbreaking loss, every quiet moment of silence was a part of your awakening. Each chapter had its purpose. Each person you met had their lesson to teach. The universe was never against you. It was shaping you. It was refining you, teaching you how to truly see. There was probably a time when you thought enlightenment meant achieving some kind of perfection and untouchable, constant peace. But now you know the truth. Awakening isn't about escaping the human experience. It's about embracing it fully, humbly, and beautifully. To be spiritual doesn't mean you're untouched by pain. It means you see pain as sacred. It means seeing yourself not as separate from the world, but as an integral part of its living, breathing soul. The psychologist Carl Jung believed that the purpose of life is to create consciousness out of chaos, to bring light to what was hidden, to remember what we have long forgotten. And so, your life, with all of its unexpected twists and turns, has been a masterpiece of remembering. You were never off the path. You were the path. Every mistake was a step toward greater awareness. Every heartbreak opened a deeper door within you. Every ending led to a truer beginning. And now, you can finally exhale. You can finally stop trying so hard to become because you already are. The seeking brought you right here to stillness, to truth, to yourself. Just look at how far you've come. Look at how much you've endured, how deeply you've learned to love. Even when you felt like you were breaking, you were actually growing. Even when you felt completely lost, you were finding your way. Because life is not something you conquer, it is something you surrender to. You don't control it, you dance with it, you let it move through you, breath by breath, moment by moment. And in that surrender, you discover peace. Peace isn't a destination you finally reach. It's a state of being that comes when you stop fighting what is, when you stop demanding that the world make sense, and instead, you simply learn to trust it. You trust that everything that has happened, even the things that felt unbearable, was a necessary thread in the beautiful tapestry of your becoming. And you realize, maybe for the very first time, that you don't need to understand life to love it. You just need to be present for it in all its rawness, in all its mystery. You start to see beauty where others might see nothing, in a quiet morning, in a soft breath of wind, in the eyes of a passing stranger. Because beauty, too, is a form of awareness. It is the simple recognition that existence itself is a miracle. And so, you walk forward not with all the answers, but with acceptance. Not with a need for control, but with grace. You carry no heavy questions anymore, only gratitude. Gratitude for the winding path that led you here. Gratitude for the pain that purified you. Gratitude for the love that stayed, and even for the love that left. Because now you understand nothing was ever wasted. Everything was a teacher, everything was sacred. You don't need to chase peace anymore. You are peace. You don't need to find the light. You are the light. And as the night falls, and your breath slows, you feel something settle deep inside you, a quiet joy, a steady warmth, a knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be. This is what Jung meant by individuation, not becoming someone new, but remembering the wholeness that was always there within you. And so, as the circle completes, you rest in that wholeness. You no longer seek to escape life, you live it fully, gently, awake. And as you drift into this stillness, you might hear one last whisper. It doesn't come from me, or from the world, but from within your own heart. When you finally understand yourself, you stop needing to be understood. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. If this resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd like and subscribe for more reflections on this journey we call life. Take care.